What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to our Champions League match reaction here on Anfield Agenda after Liverpool have been beaten by 1-0 over in Istanbul against Galatasaray. A game that, let's be honest, we probably deserved nothing from because it was another abject performance where many of us are left wondering, what is the style of football that Liverpool are trying to play? We bring on Alexander Isak in the second half and he has 2-3 touches, doesn't really get involved in the game. We created no real goal-scoring opportunities I can think of in that second 45. And Galatasaray did their job in seeing the game out. Look, we can talk about the referee, and he wasn't great. But let's be honest, the problems here are from within. It's from the manager right down to the players. They need to figure this out. We need to form an identity, and we need to go out there and show it week in and week out. Because that leaves more questions than answers. And I've been saying that quite a lot lately. So congratulations to Gala and their victory. I'm sure they'll celebrate it into the night, and they should. From our side of it, we need to pick the bones out of this because it's now 2 games in a row we've lost. And respectfully, we should be beating Galatasaray. We should be going over there and dealing with them quite comfortably if we play anywhere near our level. So rather than start to pinpoint individual players, because I've seen people already start to say, Vert's this, Vert's that, it was a collective failure. Nobody left that pitch today with any credit, in my opinion. It was an underwhelming performance all around, and it was a failure. There's nothing else to say in that regard. So, yes, we can say there are performances that could have been better individually. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But from the top down, from the manager all the way through, this wasn't good enough. I want to get this in early, but I mean, does this team even want to hit Alexander Isak with passes? And when has Isak ever been a header of a ball? Slot showing cracks here and Ibu WTF. I am as baffled as you are at what on earth we were trying to do when Isak came on to get him into the game. Like you've said, Connor messaged me to say 2 touches at one point. He's had 2 touches. You're right. There's no identity. You know, what were we? We weren't a pressing team. We weren't passing through the lines. That was just a nothing again. A sideways passing, naive performance yet again. It needs to change, and it needs to change quickly. Konate has to sort this stuff out, though. I'm not saying he was responsible for that performance today. He wasn't. But it's clearly a problem at the club, and it needs to be sorted out. Not Vert's the money, John, said Tide Pods. Look, I understand the disappointment in Florian Wirtz since he's come in. I, as a fan, am disappointed. But I'm trying to be ironic coming from me, but I'm trying to be a bit mature about how I look at him. Every single person that says he looks too lightweight and he isn't doing what you think he should do, you're right. And I'm not pushing back against that. I'm just saying I can understand a player taking time to get into the league. But what I can't understand is a manager who's not seeing what we're seeing. Who's not seeing a player who hasn't settled yet. And isn't saying, you know what, son, I'm going to take you out of the spotlight for a little bit. I'm going to go back to my tried and tested midfield. And we're going to go back to basics. And we're going to ease you in bit by bit when the team's gained a bit more confidence. And when we're playing with a bit more of an identity. We asked him to drop Mo. He did it. Did we look any better? No. Did Mo make it any better when he came on? No. So it isn't an individual thing, this, in my opinion. It is a failure from the manager down. Now, look, we've spent years talking about Jurgen Klopp and the great stuff, and we've been spoiled. Arne, this is inexcusable because he's been backed hugely. He inherited a very good team. We won the league last year, but no way have we pushed on. In no way. Alexander Isak, our centre forward, brought on to try to rescue the game, had 4 touches, ladies and gentlemen. 4 touches. Like you've all said, how is that playing to his strengths? What on earth was the plan? I don't know, but I know I'm interested to hear what the manager has to say, because it best start with an apology to those travelling fans that paid their hard-earned money to go and watch that shite. They're the ones who I feel sorry for. Of course, we're all annoyed about it. Those poor people have travelled probably a 5.5 hour flight over, forked out probably thousands, to go to the game. And that's the performance? That's the fight? It's not good enough. Sick blaming individuals. No individual can shine, said Blizzard. This, I don't think there is, like you've rightly said, any blame per individual. Because it's not like tonight we can sit here and say, Wirtz was terrible, Konate was terrible, but 5 others were great. I didn't see great performances. I seen energy from Curtis Jones. I seen people trying to do stuff at times, but nothing. No progression through the lines. What's the point in bringing in one of Europe's best playmakers if we're not finding a way to get him to do that? Like, there are so many questions that Arna has to answer the fans are rightly asking. What is the style of football? What is the philosophy? Because if that's supposed to be our version of Paris Saint-Germain, then my God, we're in trouble. Because we're nowhere near the way that we thought we were going to be playing. We're nowhere near anything. It is a nothing set of performances with no rhythm, balance, understanding, nothing. And the worst part of it all is, I could say that about Arteta's team at times, but at least they've got a defensive solidity to it. So it might be defensive and boring at times, but they can keep a clean sheet. We're our own worst enemies. Yet again, we give away the ball. We go from nearly opening the scoring to conceding a penalty in 10 seconds. Ball progression is a huge issue, said Vidar. Also, ref, what the hell? Look, the ref was awful. He was. But he's not the reason we lost the game. We're the reason we lost the game. And our manager's the reason we lost the game. The legend said, sorry lad, I always like the English teams to do well. I appreciate that, mate, as an Arsenal fan. I do. I appreciate that you coming in as an Arsenal fan saying that. But if I sat here and talked about robberies or whatever, I'd be doing you all a disservice. The only stealing that's going on is the living that these lads are stealing with those performances. It's just... we got burnt in hell tonight, said Jason. Whatever it was, mate, whether it was the fans getting in our heads, whatever it was, they didn't stand up for the fight. So, here's your example. Look at the Ryder Cup team that went over to New York. And they were in a very hostile environment. And how did they shut those fans up? By winning. By showing them why they're there. By showing them why they won the Ryder Cup the last time. By showing them why Luke Donald picked them. Because they've got the metal and the bottle when it counts. We went over there tonight off the back of a pathetic display against Crystal Palace and looked like we'd no ambition to improve it. Looked like we'd learnt nothing from it. Am I wrong? I don't want to scream and shout about it. I don't want to F and blind about it. Because right now I am worried as a Liverpool fan. Darwin has a better work rate than Isak, but somebody wanted him out. Guess who? Me and every other Liverpool fan on the planet, because he's shit. And Isak is multiples of the striker that Darwin is, which is why he's in Saudi, the only team that would buy him, and Isak's at Liverpool. And also, how can you judge Isak's work rate off a 25-minute cameo at the end of the game where he got 4 touches? So you don't know what you're talking about and you're on a wind-up. So just go away. Looking back, I think we've been bang average since the PSG game last season, with the exception of the Spurs game when we won the league. I don't disagree. Like, I said this at the end of last season and people gave out to me because, you know, I was moaning about performances and I was getting, but you won the league. You can't just switch players on and off. You can't just switch adrenaline, performances, aggression. You can't just switch that on and off. It needs to be constant. So this is where we're at. Arna gets paid the big bucks. Time to start finding solutions. Someone needs to check Konate's Duolingo streak. Look, Konate wasn't great. In fact, he was poor, but so were many others in and around him. Opposum said, how is that referee qualified for a Champions League game? Constantly delaying the game. Wrong calls all over the pitch for both teams. We were not good, yes. Asking about style. There was no match today. You were right on the referee. And like you said, whether it was for or against us, He didn't let the game flow. And the one that's absolutely unfathomable to me is the 3 times he stopped the ball when there was a leg injury to a player and we had the ball in the opposite half of the pitch. There's no need for it. If Galatasaray are so worried about it, win the ball back and put it out of play. But he stopped it when we were in possession 3 times. That's the one I can't get my head around, or the 3, I should say. Padge said, can't even decide what issue to bring up tonight, Craig. There's too many. We've gone from a tight group to random mayhem. Chelsea, massive now. Can you imagine, everyone, if we lose against Chelsea, can you imagine the narrative for the 2 weeks of the international break? Because we would have gone from being 5 points clear of Arsenal to maybe behind Arsenal if we lose on Saturday. Gone from winning 6 in a row to then maybe losing 3 in a row. Definitely having lost 2 in a row. How do you do that? Somebody made a comment during the watch-along, which I don't know if they made in jest or they were serious, but they said, how can we have sold Darwin and gotten worse? It's a very fair question. Worrying. We accepted last season the slower build-up play, but with control. This season, it's the slower play, but no controller ideas. Like I said at half-time, Will, the amount of times that we've seen our centre-backs pass the ball sideways, turn around and do this, like over and over and over. Just no carrying the ball forward, no trying to draw a challenge, no trying to play through lines. Just silly, silly stuff. And then when we do get into areas, too many touches. Too many touches before pulling the trigger. Just, I don't know. Worrying. This is the first time I've actually felt worried as a fan under Slot. Like, worried. Because we're now 8 games into the season. And the last 2, we're getting worse, not better. So I am concerned. Am I the only one who saw a dreadful field and no other time for stoppages inside of stoppage time? The reason I think, because it kind of crossed my mind, mate, about the stoppages inside stoppage time, is because the ref didn't want to give a foul in the middle of the park because he probably thought he was wrong right at the end, and then decided to bottle it and blow up for the end of the match. That was my instant thinking in that moment. And yeah, the pitch was shit, but we knew that going over because we spoke about the salt water in the irrigation system in the week building up to it. Carl said, all I want to do is shout. Joseph Purvis said, embarrassing performance, disgusting dive from Galatasaray too. The player should have been ashamed. Wirtz was actually decent, I think, but we must be better. So I'm going to go against the grain here for people who are talking about the Galatasaray players going to ground. And I appreciate other perspectives. This is just mine. It's up to the referee to stop that. If I was in Galatasaray's position and this was Liverpool, I'd want us doing the same. If we were playing a team that we felt inferior to and we'd gone ahead in the game, I'd want every dark art in the book. Because it's up to the ref to stop it. Players will get away with what they're allowed to get away with. Athletes will do that. That is what sport is at the top level. You find every edge you can and you utilise it. And it's up to the referee to take control of the game. And that referee from minute 1 tonight made it very clear that if the fans were vociferous and loud enough, he was going to be on that side. So, yeah, the Gala players, like I said, they'll do what the ref lets them get away with. So I've no problem with them. My problem is with the ref, letting them get away with it and not putting a tone down early. Ryan said, I feel for Wirtz now. It just ain't good enough. I said midweek, Ryan, myself, that I would take him out of the fire line for a little bit. Because when people hear of a player being benched, they automatically assume that it's the manager saying you're not good enough or, excuse me, it's to the detriment of you, you're not good enough. You can look at it a different way as well. You can look at it like a young player who comes in maybe, has an explosive start and then has a bit of a patch. You want to bring these guys in when you've got a confident team there. So when you're adding in new players from different leagues, you want them coming into a pretty well-drilled machine with players who know their roles, and you add a few new changes in and you hope it gels. But if it doesn't, you shouldn't be averse to taking a player out, putting them on the bench, then bring him in at 60, 65 in certain games where it's slowed down a bit and you think the conditions and the space are more favourable to a player like Wirtz who can find those pockets. That's what I would say with that situation. But like I said, I'm not in charge. So we're all kind of at the behest of what Arna wants to do. John from near Liverpool said, this patty cake football has got to stop. This has been the way since the end of last year. This is not on the manager. So if you look at Manchester City, not so much under Guardiola now, but earlier, it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's pass, 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 but there's something to it. It's pass and move, one touch, quick go, open space, move, go. That's not what we're doing. There's no incisiveness to what we're doing. It's just sideways, into midfield, backwards, into midfield, sideways, lump a long ball into the channel. There is no playing through the lines. There is no dragging a press out of a team and playing around that press. And if you're playing the low block, get it into wide areas like we keep saying. And mix it up. Run at defenders. Have a pop. Roger, thank you. Jono said, in your opinion, what would you do to fix the situation? Because I'm lost. For me, if I'm Arna, I'm going back to my midfield that won me the league title. And Wirtz is getting a breather for a while. So I'm going back to Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I think we do have to have the caveat that McAllister was playing catch-up from fitness over the summer, but I'd still be putting him in there. On top of that, it's difficult because he was right to take Salah out, but we look no better. So that's one issue. You go, okay, well, he tried Salah out, we look no better. Frimpong didn't exactly pull up any trees, so let's go back Mo. Next game, Mo goes in, right? What I'd take out is Konate next. Try Joe Gomez. Can't be any worse, really, right? It can't be. So the thing that's confusing as well, Jono, is we've two right backs who the manager doesn't trust. Am I wrong in saying that? You know, we've had Szoboszlai at right back for a good chunk of the season because the £30 million right back he brought in and the right back that they rewarded with a new contract, who they said was the successor, the manager doesn't seem to want to use either of them in the position. So that's another concern for me. And now, of course, Alisson could be injured for a while. And we've an unknown quantity to some extent in Georgi Mamardashvili in goal. So I think not overcomplicating it and not overthinking it is what I would do at the minute if I was in charge. But like I said, I don't know football as well as Arne Slot or those Liverpool coaches, but I think all of us would agree, whatever it is that they're trying to do, it's not working. Slotball said, I'm worried about Wirtz. Understand where you're coming from, mate. I might be being pig-headed here, man, but I still feel he'll come good. I really do, but like I said, I can't argue about anybody who says he hasn't been good enough yet because that's a fair point. Slot needs to stop blaming our players in the media. That's how you lose a dressing room. Needs to sort it out. I'm really confused by this one. Who exactly has he been blaming in the media? You know, do you think, like the Ekatike situation as an example, do you think you should be applauding Ekatike for getting sent off for stupid yellow cards? I don't know, mate. I'm not trying to have a pop at you, I promise you. It's not one of the things that would have popped into my head, mate, as to what's going on. And I still think the naivety or the stupidity or the ignorance around the Konate situation at the club needs to change. It's like we don't learn lessons. We've seen it with Trent last year, now we're watching it unfold all over again. Martin Lawrence said, we look sloppy, erratic and poorly coached. And thank you, Martin, for your membership as well. Benjamin said, listen, Wirtz cannot get space if our strikers are drawing players. Isak gets the ball more, Wirtz gets space. Salah plays on the edge more, Wirtz gets space. David Silva needed players. So there was a couple of times today where I was really confused, Benjamin, because you seen Wirtz having to drop back inside their half to look for the ball. And then, like you've said, mate, the gap between him and the strikers is infinite. And he can't do his best work. You're right in what you're saying. You want him zipping balls through to Ekitike, Isak on the edge of a defender's shoulder. But he's not going to be able to do that 50 yards back down the pitch inside our own half, coming deep. And then at times you had Ekitike equally dropping deep. So, it's fair points. Slot has taken us backwards. Konate needs to leave, said Nestroy. So, either needs to leave or at least needs to be honest. Because if he said he's going at the end of the season and got it off his chest even, call me naive here, but I do think it would at least clear things up and everyone knows what they're working with then. Colette Bowen said, I had no expectations of winning anything this season with the amount of change and what happened to Jota. I think it's going to be a while before we see decent football from them. So, understandable with the Diogo thing, Colette. It's hard to see how people react to that. But what you would hope, Colette, I'm sure, is that you galvanise the team with that tragedy and you use it to fuel your desire for success. The changes thing, Colette, I don't want to be a hypocrite on, because I said all summer I don't think there was too many, and to be honest, I still stand over that. But what I'm not seeing is an identity of play or an understanding of why we bought the players we did to do what. That's where I'm confused, Colette. Like, what is Wirtz supposed to be doing in this slot team that he wasn't doing at Leverkusen? Why are we not seeing a similar amount of creativity? Like we said, Isak, 4 touches when he came on. So how are we getting the best out of him? But but appreciate your feedback as always. Zishan Ali said, no plan, no creativity, no service, no identity. We get dominated by every team, pillar to post. What's the plan to give striker service? No system. There's one stat that's been winding me up the most lately, Zishan, and it's passing accuracy percentage. It's winding me up because let me just look at today's, right? 68% passing accuracy percentage from Galatasaray, 87% for Liverpool. And more often than not, we're somewhere between 84 and 88%. Crystal Palace, when they beat us, I think they were in the high 60s. So people look at that and go, oh, the passing accuracy is great. And all the... Take a breath. All the I find a stat to back up any bullshit people on X and all will say, yeah, he did this and he had X amount of this and he had 77% passing. I don't give a fuck about passing accuracy percentage and all these weird little stats. Because the reason the other teams are lower is because they're taking chances. Palace took chances with their passing. They tried to create and hence the lower. Tonight with Galatasaray, they were trying to play in. They were trying to make stuff on the counter. So that's why it's lower. And you'll get people on X using these stats to go, oh, look at this dude, he's such a baller. He had 4 duels and won 2 of them and did it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I want to see him setting up a goal, putting the ball in the back of the net, or going through somebody for a shortcut and a tackle. And this is what I'm saying. Stats lately are doing my head in, because I can find a stat to justify any narrative I want. I could find you stats out there, I guarantee you, that would show you Florian Wirtz was the best or the worst player on the pitch. I could find the stats to make the argument either way. The eye test, call me old-fashioned, but the eye test is what I live by. And I don't need stats to show me that was dog shit out there. Chiesa would have put one in. Slot needs to sort this out. Too much talent on the pitch. And I said this during the game. I don't know if there is a stat or a metric to back this up, but it feels like so many shots from us get blocked. I don't know. I think it's because we take one touch too many before shooting. There was a time with Frimpong today as well. I thought he could have crossed first time, but he took a touch, then he crossed, and then it ricocheted out for, I think he got a double knock and it was a goal kick. But simple things like that for me. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing or if it was the pitch tonight maybe. Where do I begin? Said Lewis. Chiesa, karma, boring football. We should be playing in aprons because we've got nothing at the back. Sloppy football. All they need is a kick up the backside. Chiesa petition needed. I got so much abuse. No, that's unfair. I got so much criticism. Abuse isn't the right word. I got so much criticism for daring to say that I thought Slot wasn't telling the whole truth about Chiesa. And people was like, Support the club, mate. Why would the manager lie? As if managers and football clubs don't lie to fans at every opportunity because sometimes they need to for their job. You know, Arna's job is to protect the players in the club. And he's not going to come out there and say something like, I don't rate somebody. He's not going to come out and say that publicly. He's going to find a reason, and whether it's a knock like the knock he seemed to have in the summer when it was because he was looking for a club and they were over in Hong Kong and Japan, the knock that suddenly came about that didn't exist. I don't believe this one either. But what I'm surprised by is the amount of people who think every word that comes out of a manager or a press officer's mouth is gospel. Like, the naivety sometimes baffles me. You don't have to believe everything you're told, but you can understand why they're saying it. So I can disagree and not believe Arna, but completely understand why he's saying what he's saying, because he needs to. Now we'll see what Slot is made of, said Robin. Yeah, because you cannot lose this game on Saturday and then go into that international break with 3 defeats on the bounce. It's going to be 2 weeks of column inch after column inch saying Liverpool wheels are coming off. Dom was okay, and why wasn't Rio brought on? Fair point on Rio. Yeah, fair point. Why did we see Rio get a chance to at least try to bring a moment to the game, even if it was to draw a foul, running at a player into the penalty area or something. And that's one thing I do think we're naive on. So look at the Ekitike chance that I felt Ekitike could have gone to ground, personally. And I felt like there would have been a decision to make because I felt like his right arm was being dragged back a bit. You know, we often credit players for staying on their feet, but there is a reason why others don't, because it's the only way you're getting a foul. Yeah. Curtis was shy today, constantly giving the ball away and no reaction. So the same as everybody else then, Kai, right? Curtis Jones, I've been one of his biggest critics over the years, but what you'll never see from Curtis is him hiding on a football pitch. And whether he isn't doing that with the ball or making mistakes with it, at least he's showing and wanting it and showing a bit of spirit. So take what you said on board, but it wasn't just him. James Ramirez, thank you, sir. Phil said this season is going to be like 22-23. Pathetic. If Arna hadn't won the Prem, we'd say he's clueless. Look, it is really difficult to make an argument to say how we've suddenly gone backwards. Like, I've got quotes from the manager, which I'm going to read out to you guys in a second. I just want to keep working through these. Wayne said, Slot needs to be asked serious questions, and unfortunately no journo is going to ask them. We need to clearly change our formation to help the lads, WFM. George said, don't think I've seen a game with so many fouls. I don't know what were the foul numbers, actually. I don't know if we have them there. I think we've got tackles. I don't actually know the foul numbers, mate, off the top of my head. Ryan said, half needed these losses to wake us up to the fact that we can't keep scamming late goals and need to start playing real football. Poor all season, really. Yeah, but to be fair to our fan base, Ryan, and to you guys, to me, to everybody else, it's not like Liverpool fans have been going around saying we've been playing brilliantly and, wow, look at us, we're great. We've all felt we've been getting away with it. We've all rightly lauded the lads for having the guts to go find a late winner. But we haven't been fooling ourselves by thinking it's been great football. You know, every Liverpool fan that I've interacted with or spoken to feels like it's great to win, but we're not playing well. M said we could actually lose 3 games in a row. I'm scared. We absolutely could, which is worrying because you don't want Arsenal to nudge ahead and gain more confidence. And if you look at the fixtures coming up, their 5 are winnable. Fede not being part of the squad is shocking. The company line is that he has a knock. So he is in the Champions League squad now because of the really unfortunate injury to Giovanni Leone. But, yeah. I don't know, man. It's difficult. Mr. Devil said, Craig, we didn't like Darwin not scoring, but he spread the defences so other players could score. That guy has got a point. I don't disagree on the latter part of what you've said. But my point is, we all agreed Darwin wasn't good enough. And I think anybody who tried to say he was, it was wrong. He had more than enough time here. But that doesn't mean to say a few things can't be right. And the point that you've made about him stretching the fences and causing chaos is very fair. He did that. And you never really lacked effort. So I'll give him that. But it is still very frustrating when your centre forward was missing that many chances. But you're damn right about him causing the fences trouble and stretching them. And if the guy had have worded it that way instead of trying to be a smart arse, like yourself, where you actually made a point and did it respectfully, I would have answered him differently, just as I have you, sir. Anders, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Benjamin said, we'll end up keeping Konate on these performances. Madrid will be going elsewhere. The fella can't pass. I expected to see us get better and relationships to be formed on the pitch by the game, but we're getting worse. That's really concerning, said Black-Hearted Gamer. Said, I don't understand why we don't attack teams. Passively waiting for openings does not work at this level. We need to be creating more, and to create more, we need to be more aggressive. I don't disagree, my friend. I don't disagree. Certainly with the aggressiveness. Yeah. So I know I've got some more super chats I need to get to, but I want to read you out some quotes from Arne Slot because we've been waiting for these. He said, on the Galatasaray penalty, Dominic did nothing wrong. He felt a little flick and he went down. They made a 20% penalty, 100% penalty. It was smart from them. So the biggest problem that I have with the penalty decision is that the referee didn't wait for VAR. The referee immediately blew the whistle and pointed to the spot. And when the referee does that, VAR have to find a clear and obvious error to show that what the ref thinks he's seen didn't see. Now, there was contact to the player. Ridiculous contact that wasn't in anywhere near a penalty, but VAR can't overturn that. So what you would have hoped the ref does in that situation is let it go to VAR. Don't give the penalty unless you're absolutely 100% certain. Go to VAR and let VAR do. If VAR needs to send you to the monitor, then so be it. So for our penalty, there was a clear and obvious error where the player got to the ball first and the ref was rightly told to go over and the penalty for us was overturned. Rightly. So the problem I have there is the ref should have waited for VAR and then VAR could have sent him to the monitor. The ref could have had a few looks at it and then made a decision. But he took that out of the hands of VAR by pointing to the spot and being a hometown decision maker like he clearly was. He also said, again, disappointed because you lose. Football is about winning. That was a different performance on the ball and off the ball to last Saturday. First half we played quite well. If Arteta said that, I'd be laughing. He's deluded. There's no other word for that. He's deluded. If this was a better performance than Saturday, he's deluded. I don't know what fucking game he was looking at. And I don't know what we did to try to really win that game of football. What the philosophy was to win that game of football. He's lost. He's delusional with that comment. I'm sorry. That is absolutely insane. Liam said, I love this club and I will back the boys no matter what, even though we've won games this season. We've been shocking. I hope Slot gets them and step it up because it's simply not good enough. It isn't. You're right. And again, about supporting, we all want to get behind the team. But we can't just ignore problems. And we have a few at the minute. Ming Ho said it's early, but if this continues, Slot is looking a bit overwhelmed. So, Jurgen Klopp in his post-match reaction there would have moaned about the ref, would have said the performance wasn't good enough, and would have said he wants more from our players, more character from our players. Arne seems to be just, I don't know if he's delusional or in denial. I don't know. But what he's seen and what the rest of us seen seems to be quite different. Owen said maybe it's early, but Wirtz is being very poor. No, he hasn't been great, Owen. There's no denying that. But, I do always try to make allowances for a new player coming into a team, and especially if it's a new league as well. But that's up to the manager then to take him out of the firing line for a bit and manage the situation as well as the player. Brad said, if we don't make a statement against Chelsea, then Christ, where do we go from there? Into the international break, not top of the league, is where we go from there, unfortunately, if we don't put in a good performance. The double pivot is not working, agree. Well, the whole thing isn't working. It's hard to say if I agree or not with the double pivot embrace, because I don't know what the system is. I don't know what we're trying to do. Because it isn't play through the lines. It isn't to pen teams in and press them into mistakes. All the things he talks about wanting to do is not what we're seeing. So, I really don't know, mate. Whitehammer said, Wirtz had 4 out of 12 duels won. Again, I'm not trying to say he had a good performance, Whitehammer, at all. But I'm just trying to say it was 10 or 11 poor performances and not just one. Nessie said, I cannot understand. We had Wirtz, Isak, Ekitike at some point, but still didn't use them. Instead, we're giving balls to Jones, Salah and Szoboszlai. LFC Mania said, we're not beating Chelsea, end of. Well, to be fair, bro, have you looked at Chelsea recently? They're in a bit of a moment themselves. And Maresca's under pressure. And they've had red cards in games. And they're struggling with injuries. So, I wouldn't rule out winning just yet because, both of us aren't in the best moment. I don't know why everyone's panicking. 2 bad results, yes, but winning every single game in the league stage got us nowhere last year in the Champions League. To give time for a team to gel. So, you're right about last year, but I think you're wrong, Tom, about people panicking because we're not seeing progression. You're right about the results, and again, we can't argue about the results, but we're not seeing progression, mate. Does anybody in the chat know our identity or style of play? Between us all, surely there's a couple of people that maybe have it, because I don't know it, and I'm not being sarcastic. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're trying to do. I just know it's passive and side to side and frustrating. Do you miss Luis Diaz? Thoughts on Chiesa? See, yes and no. I miss Luis Diaz because he would have been put into the game to do what Rio could have done. And yet Rio wasn't given the chance to do it. So this is where I struggle with the whole line of this player is a replacement for that player when it comes to the crunch, this player hasn't got the same belief from the manager as Diaz. So do I miss him? Yes. But I'm more baffled as to why we're not putting the tricky, young, up-and-coming, fast player to run at the fullback, get him booked, give him something to think about, maybe get pulled down in the penalty area, maybe draw a foul somewhere, like something. That's where I get confused, because we're supposed to believe that the players are trusted levelly and everyone in the first team has an equal opportunity, but not the case. Now, you can make the other argument, say maybe not the greatest environment or time to put Rio in, and that's fair enough as well. But Diaz would have been on that pitch, and yeah, he would have ran at them and tried to do something different. Too many players that have no Prem experience, half the team, said Roger. But this wasn't a Prem game though, Roger. So your point is valid, sir. But a lot of them do have Champions League experience. PSG almost didn't make the knockout stage last year because it took months for them to click. No need to panic and put unnecessary pressure on the boys. So, again, what you've said is factually correct, Cam. But I keep coming back to, you could see the identity and what Luis Enrique wanted to do. It took a while for it to click. But I think PSG fans or the players would have known what he wanted to do. I've yet to meet a Liverpool fan who knows what we're trying to do. So that's the point I'm trying to make. I hope you're right. I hope we have a PSG-esque turnaround and things become different. But we look a long way from that now, mate. We're absolutely missing a real number 6, like Fabinho was. Aggressive, no aggressive leader in this midfield, and nobody who likes to do the dirty work. Konate is also weak. There's certainly a fair aspect to an enforcer type number 6. I mean, you get a lot from Ryan Gravenberch in the way he plays the position, and it is a very forward-thinking number 6 in the way he plays it. But sometimes, yeah, it's not having a big brute in there that just breaks things up isn't too bad either. Russell said, ref gave us a pen, VAR rightly ruled it out. Right, and again, Russell, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I don't know what point you're trying to make. You mean if you're saying like the ref didn't give us decisions and then he gave us the pen? If that's the point you're trying to make, I still think he stopped the game way too much, mate, and didn't let it flow. But look, it was the right decision, like you said. And all I want in these moments is the right decisions, and that was the right decision, which was fair enough. Frustrating Alisson injury after a Konate mistake. So somebody said he was nursing that injury before the incident. Now, I don't know who's right. I don't know if I'm wrong and he did have it before the Konate incident or not. I truly don't know. But I do know that Konate was responsible for the chance by giving the ball away with a poor pass. And I do know that Konate was 10 yards too far forward and out of position when the first 3 minutes or 4 minutes of the game when the one-on-one chance was created. And I do know that Konate was all over the shop again. Maddie said, I miss heavy metal football. The system is boring. It is definitely not as exciting. I'll give you that one. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, time will tell. But Alisson was the only shining light. Vert's perfect pass to Bradley, who tried to shoulder it, irked me. Was that the header incident? It was a great ball in from Florian Wirtz and a good back post late run from Connor Bradley in towards the penalty spot, and probably should have done better with the header, yeah. Right, let's see. Do we have a man of the match vote? We do. So, with nearly 8,000 votes, the Anfield Agenda man of the match is Alisson Becker with 56% of the vote, and probably the only real credible option there. I have a few more super chats to read through and a few other bits and pieces, but I just want to remind you guys, if you would like to submit your player ratings, you can do so with the QR code on the screen there now. That'll bring you to the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, and we will put the link in to submit your player ratings there, and I'll be recording that video in about 15 minutes. Mike said Slot giving us the excuses in his post-match. I'm about to read you out one more, actually. So this could be good news. James Pearce has tweeted, and thank you, Keane, for sending this to me, that Hugo Ekitike is confident he only had cramp in his hamstring rather than anything serious. So that is a small bit of good news. Virgil van Dijk said, it's absolutely normal to need time when you come to a new team. Nowadays, you don't get time from the outside world. I'm very confident. I'm not worried if things won't click. Noise from the outside world. You know, the outside world being the fans that you all claim to play for. And, you know, I don't know who he's talking about here, by the way, because I'm trying to bite my tongue because I don't want to disrespect our captain too much, but that's a cop-out answer. He mightn't be worried, but the rest of us are. And the time from the outside world, fuck me. What does he want? People to stand there and applaud that shite? I don't know what he's talking about. What time is he talking about? It's not like we brought in 11 new players. The manager has the option to go back to his players if he wants it, that were all there last year that won the league, bar the centre forwards. It's just another cop-out answer from somebody who just doesn't want to say it as it is. It's not good enough. Never positive if you go off like this, so you can be sure he's not playing on Saturday. Said Arnott about Alisson's injury. I mean, I honestly have no idea where Verge is going with that. Yeah, he's lost me on that one. Genie, Fabinho and Henderson would eat this midfield alive. Where's the urgency? Is this a coaching problem? They did it for Klopp. I'm bored of this, said Lewis. As Klopp said in one of his team talks when he went into a dressing room, my old midfield would have destroyed that team. But, you know, Verge is out here telling us all that he's not worried. You know, and never mind the outside noise. Everybody else should have time. Should give them all half a season. Instead of maybe, I don't know, playing the players who are used to the system, Virgil, to, you know, get you the results. Or having an understanding of what you're doing. Because for a man who talks about noise in the outside world, he spends half his game moving players around like chess pieces and stopping the ball and waiting. But okay, Verge, it's our fault. I couldn't stand Curtis today, constantly giving balls away, which nearly cost us 2 goals down. Any chance our captain could just grow a pair and go, lads, that wasn't good enough. We're sorry that wasn't good enough. We know that wasn't good enough. It needs to be better. It will be better. I'll make sure it's better. No, just be calm. I'm not worried. Outside world and all that, but I'm not worried. Because I get 300 grand a week not to be worried. But never mind you fans or the poor scousers that travelled over from Liverpool to watch that shite and paid their hard-earned money in their 9-to-5 jobs to make sacrifices for their families to go over to watch that. But he's not worried, so it's all right. He's not worried. Slot won the league with the momentum of Klopp's departure, and now we're going to see what Slot is made of, and we know he dislikes Italian players. People underestimate how much we miss Trent and Diaz. Well, to be fair, Iron Mike, both of them wanted out. So, it's not really... It's not our fault. Trent wanted to go to Madrid and ran his deal down. And for whatever reason, the club did want to give Diaz a pay bump and he wanted a better payday and was hawking himself around for a move. So, looking back at how PSG started the Champions League last year, I feel like we'll step it up a notch. Sad Alisson is injured. I hope we do. And again, I'd love to be going back and talking about that PSG performance and them clicking together. But like I said, for me, and maybe it's simplistic, I just don't see what we're trying to do out there. You know the way sometimes you get a manager who's adamant they're playing out from the back and his players aren't there to play out from the back and they start giving away sloppy goals, but you can at least see what they're trying to do. Let's just say Russell Martin type football. I don't know what we're trying to do. Bumbadog said one thing, if Slot was defensive and we were losing 1-0 grinders, we aren't positive anywhere on the pitch. Feels like we're just tweaking tactics to shoehorn odd fit players and we suck at it. Konate needs to be benched, said David. Dave's running a video, said it's an easy remedy. Get the players working hard in last season's structure and sharpness and then we'll tear teams apart. But Verge isn't worried, Dave. You know, outside world, mate, and all that. It doesn't matter. Inside, they're all holding hands, skipping, singing Kumbaya and drinking the free coffee. But, you know, it's all their fault from the outside world because we're the ones that are making them play shit or, you know, in denial. I hate a lack of taking ownership of a situation. That team isn't playing good enough. The captain needs to grow a pair. And the captain needs to call that out for what it is. Not good enough. I definitely think Szoboszlai and Maka need to go back into midfield and give us a bit more of a better engine going forward. It's a bit of an indictment, isn't it, of the right-back situation when he doesn't want to use the 2 right-backs at the club in that position and he's having to put in Szoboszlai to try to replicate Trent. You would wonder, like, why? Why have Frimpong and Bradley if you don't trust them? Why give Bradley a new deal if you don't think he's good enough to play the position? Why bring in Frimpong if he's not good enough to play the position? You know, these are the type of things that if other clubs were doing it, I'd be calling it out and laughing at them. Anders said, we're walking football, worried for Wirtz. Reminds me of Aquilani, worried that Konate's head's in Madrid. Jimmy said, we're taking this too seriously. The team needs time to gel. Let's give them support. Versus improving. Konate needs to be benched. So it's hard to say we're taking it too seriously or not, mate, when, it all has a different importance to all of us, right? So there's casual football fans that, might not go to bed tonight wanting to punch the wall like me. And then there's lunatics like me, Jimmy, who, rightly or wrongly, let the football and the results and the performances impact them. So, dude, we all look at it different ways, and I appreciate that. I can only ever give you my opinion, Jimmy, and for me, I'm annoyed. But like I said, I wish I could just switch it off, mate, and just go to bed and not care about it, but I can't. Thank you. Don't know what that says, Mimica, but thank you. James Ramirez said, I agree with everything you're saying, but every time we push forward, we get fouled and can't find rhythm. All love, Craig from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, I'd have to watch back to talk about. The game was definitely very stop-start, James, but I'd have to watch it back regarding the fouls thing. You'd hope even from one of those set pieces, then we'd make something happen, but not to be. And much love back to you, mate, and in Albuquerque. Appreciate you. MMM said, Salah's playing the touchline. It's not his fault. Well, it's definitely not his fault today. He came on as a sub. This 100% isn't on Mo today at all. When I talk about Mo, I talk about his individual performance. But like I said multiple times today, this was a collective failure, and it ain't on Mo. Pad said, Chiesa left wing needs to be an option. Gakpo struggling. I thought Gakpo did all right today. Could be on my own on this one, but I don't remember him giving the ball away too much. I don't remember him running into blind alleys too much. And I did notice a bit more overlapping from Kirkes that was giving him a bit more space to get crosses in. But that's just my immediate thoughts. Itachi, this is a shit show right now. We're looking like a crowd of individuals and not like a team. Currently, we're worse than last season. It's embarrassing. Something needs to change ASAP. Right, folks, I'm going to have to start winding this down to get the player ratings videos done. So, just as much as I love and appreciate all of your support and anyone sending in the super chat, I just don't want you wasting your money. So please don't send in any other ones. And I'm going to fly through the rest of these really quick before we finish up. Where are we at? This one, Kai. I don't even want to know what BS Slot is going to say. Raekwon the chef said, there are too many offensive issues in this squad right now. There's no reason the wingers are more comfortable passing backwards than the number 9. Seeing Isak's face a full time did my head in. Yeah, he looked frustrated. He wasn't getting much service out there, was he, Raekwon? Jay Bless, that I know Wirtz is a great player, but my concern is how easily he gets knocked off the ball. That's what worries me most about his game. Yeah, that's a fair one, mate, and I'm sure they will work on his upper body strength, his core strength and stuff like that moving forward. I'd say that would have been in the plans coming into the Prem anyway. But, again, it's a very fair point. Sam said, Craig, can you remember the last game you watched where you were happy with the performance? Because I'm struggling, not happy with Slot at all. There was about 25 or 30 minutes against Atletico Madrid that I felt we were really good. But other than that, there's not a lot, Sam, to be honest with you, mate. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy with Slot, and I'm not happy with Verge coming out with that garbage after the game either. Just taking no ownership of the situation. We're playing like 11 strangers on the pitch, said Javid. Again, very true. Too much talent, true. Players aren't making quick decisions. They're defending to others, they're deferring to others to make quick decisions, trying to rely on others than themselves. Yep. Again, I said similar during the game, Adam, where I said, who's grabbing this game? Who's taking ownership? Who's going to be that difference maker? And like you said, it was moving on to somebody else. George Kierwan said, didn't see the match. What was our main problem? P.S. Love the content. Keep it up. Honestly, George, mate, tonight we just didn't get into a rhythm at all. Yes, the game was stopped at every opportunity by the ref. And yes, Galatasaray were running down the clock, but that's the prerogative when they're ahead. We just never look like... The second half, I don't really remember creating anything. And that's worrying because we had 3 or 4 chances in the first half. Edwin said, I don't know, man. Like last year, I had an issue with Slot. Too pragmatic, too slow, not trusting people. I've been waiting for Slot ball, but I don't like the system. What are they supposed to be doing? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I wish I had an answer, Edwin, that I could say, well, they're trying to do this, mate, and we're working towards this. Maybe I'm an idiot, bro, but I just don't know. Art797 said, so many passes that lead to nothing. No chemistry, not enough movement off the ball. It's frustrating to watch. For such a transfer window, no improvement. That's definitely a concern. Harley said, get that spaghetti mafia starting on Saturday. Oh, Chiesa. I was trying to figure out where you were going with that one, Harley. He has to, if he's fit. Will said, we've brought quality in and they'll all come good, but at the moment it's not working. Would like to see Arna rest Wirtz, Kirkes and Konate against Chelsea. Sven said, thoughts on Milos tonight? I thought he was okay. Still sometimes a little bit too aggressive on occasion, but I thought he was okay. Again, sometimes I don't see the whole pattern of the game, Sven, because I'm in between the chat and shouting or whatever. So sometimes I need to watch it back to really get a gist of it. But for me, I thought he was okay. Russell said, how do you deal and motivate people in grief? It's a difficult one because I don't know what levels of grief each individual is dealing with, right? So I can't give you an answer. Do you lean into the grief? You probably don't want to keep bringing it up if you're a manager over and over again. But you need to do something to get fire into them, to get them cracking. And as gameplay is preventing, Arne Slot's gameplay is preventing Salah from creating goals and assists. I think there could be something to that. You know, I've often said we need to get him closer to the goal at times, but we're in a halfway house where he's hugging the touchline but then going infield. And there was one thing I noticed tonight where a lot of our players were very close to each other. When we were around the edge of the box looking to get across and almost getting each other's way on times. Shabor said, what we proved today is that we've stopped turning up for the big occasions. I expected a statement win to make up for Palace. So did I. My friend. As a Galatasaray fan, thank you for good football. Look, mate, I hope you enjoy your night. Fair play. Congratulations on the win. Your atmosphere in there, your fans did their job tonight behind their team. And no ill feeling from me, bro. Wishing you the best moving forward. Joel said, trying to stay positive, but it's tough. Thank you, bro. Liam said, definitely need to improve, but I think there's a lot of growing pains. I can't excuse the amount of times we just handed them the ball. It's down to chemistry. Delusional talk from Slot and the captain. We are in trouble. Slot is a fraud. We laugh at Arteta, but we're looking worse. So I wouldn't go to the length of Slot as a fraud, but I'd agree with the first part of your comment about the delusional talk. Please tell me that Konate doesn't play Saturday. Well, he took Mo out today. So maybe he'll do the same with Konate. Maybe he didn't want to make two senior changes like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. It wouldn't be... Nobody would argue against it if he was left out. Our midfield has no warriors or nastiness. Again, I agree. Would you swap Flick for Slot right now? Be honest. No. Not because I don't rate Flick. I need to give Arna more time to see if there is a plan that we're not seeing. To see if we do have that PSG switch. So swapping one manager for another right now is still probably going to lead to the same problems of bedding in, new system, new style, new relationship. So I actually don't think it would solve the problem. A big difference between Klopp and Slot is that often Klopp would wait many games before introducing a player into the first team, whereas Slot his introduction being almost instantly, maybe out of necessity. Well, it's difficult when you've got a £115 million player and a £125 million player not to play them. It would take a real set of balls to say they're not ready yet. But, maybe, certainly in Wirtz's case, maybe that's time to say, right, you need a little breather. Wirtz doesn't seem naturally gifted, nor does he look cunning or quick for midfield. Hope he comes through as my boy wears his number. He is hugely technically and naturally gifted. Bit lightweight, perhaps, struggling to get to the speed of it, but definitely has the technical ability from the bits and pieces I've seen of him. But I hope he comes good for your boys' jersey as well, man. And do say hello to your young man for me. Ryan said, I don't want to say it, but Slot has got to go. Sick of this. He won the league with Klopp's team and when everyone was terrible. So the only thing I'd push back, Brian, is one, I don't want him to go, and two, that's the narrative of opposition fans that they want us to believe. It's not our problem if other teams were shit or not. To be fair, it's our problem. It's our job to win the league, and we did that. So in that way, man, you know, I don't want to use the everybody else was shit thing because we won the league and nobody cared when United won it with lower points tallies or Arsenal or Chelsea. So, you know, I'm just happy that we won it. Daz said, I don't hear anyone talking about Macca. He's fallen off a cliff this season. I know he didn't have a pre-season, but I think he's a huge part to play in why we're not clicking together. There's definitely something there, Daz, whether it is the lack of pre-season. You know, he just became a dad. I'm not sure if it's his first or second. I don't know if there's other things going on, but he's not the same. You're right. More than fair to say. Maybe I'm giving him too much grace because I know he's catching up, but we know he's much better than we're seeing. And lastly, Major Zero said, we don't seem to want to win. No drive, no passion. And this has just come out, which is from L'Equipe in France. Liverpool are confident of agreeing a new contract with Konate. He was offered a new renewal 2 weeks ago. Look, great. Sign it. Get your head right. Get back playing. Like we've said all the way through. Sign the contract. And then we can just get back to focusing on football. So let's hope L'Equipe are correct and that is the case, because it would be brilliant news if we did. And we brought in Marquet as well and we had proper competition. Good. So let's hope he signs it and then we can celebrate it. Right, ladies and gents. And let's hope it puts right the form, which hasn't been good enough either. I'm going to go record the player ratings video. Appreciate you sticking with us. It's been the longest match reaction we've done in a long time. But I think a lot of people had a lot to say.